Another invention, another greatly important invention that the Koreans brought were an improved potter's wheel. And there was a primitive potter's wheel before in use. You can see it used in certain situations, but this changed the form of objects. For example, here we have a object also from upstairs, but you can see on this, if you look at the silhouette, the outline of the object, you can see how this was created. Objects like this were created through ceramic coils put together. And you can actually see where the different coils are separated from each other in these slight protrusions. And look, if you look at the silhouette, that's a really clear sign of how this object was made. And it's actually one of the ways that these objects are dated through the silhouette, by seeing how they were made, by also details such as artist marks. Yes, these are signed as well. This then improves, and again, it becomes one of the traits of this dividing mark, that is the late 16th century in terms of the local ceramic production. So, how then do we understand these 6 kilns? And I'll just, again, I have to be brief. We have, for example, the Echizen and the Tokuname kiln. We have an expert here in the audience who will tell us more about this in a moment. And Tokuname, for example, is one way that people, connoisseurs, tell is by the consistency of the clay. It tends to be more sandy than the other members of the 6 kilns. And tamba ware, this was, as I mentioned, a favorite ceramic type of Yanagi, and it's a trademark, of course, is this bright iridescent green, and this comes from the firing of the local red pine, a special type that gives off the sheen in terms of its ashes. And here you can see various bowls from different jars from different periods, and they all have this green, wonderful green sheen as a commonality. This is the piece upstairs, and again you can sort of see. I think you have to see it in person, of course, but this lovely green is what really attracts people to tamba, including myself, I must admit. Here too we have another fantastic piece, again upstairs. Now, then we have shigaraki kiln, and here shigaraki's trademark are these feldspar. The clay is very heavy with feldspar. This is a mineral, and the mineral usually comes up to the surface during the firing, and it either it slightly melts or it creates small explosions, starbursts. For example, you can see here, or here, this is a good example right down here, how a bit of feldspar just has created a starburst effect. And these melted white spots on the surface is again a characteristic of the shigaraki. And our piece upstairs, you can actually see it, for example, here, here, here. Have a look upstairs afterwards and you can see how that works. So, with all this information, now you will also be able to tell the difference between the 6 kilns, right? Here we have bizen, a dark red clay that forms a very smooth surface. It's a different kind of clay than the others, and it becomes quite distinctive. They also, in later examples, they also use seaweed. They put seaweed on the surface of the pieces prior to burning, and this then creates patterns on the surface. Quite beautiful. So that of course comes from the fact that it's close to the ocean as well. But the most important and the most interesting of all these is the Seto kiln. Seto's kiln started a little earlier than the rest, in the mid-Heian period, and there's a tradition that one of the Seto artists went to China, brought back technologies, and then they were able to create glazes. This is, of course, highly doubtful. But the fact is that this is the only one of the 6 kilns that was able to perform this idea of glazing at the time. And these people, the Seto artists worked closely with tea connoisseurs, with the elite, and they had a much wider reach than the other 5 kilns. And they tried to imitate the very important Chinese objects that were entering at that time. It became the meibutsu, the favorite object of various leaders. For example, the celadons, the tenmoku, and other fine Chinese ceramics. Porcelains, of course. And Japan was not able to create porcelains yet. So here is an object that tries to imitate celadon. Of course, you might object that it doesn't quite succeed, but the effort seemed to have been there. And in addition, these tenmoku, the wonderful iridescent Song period tenmoku bowls that came in, became this matte brown, dark brown objects. Again, through the use of glazes in the Seto kiln. Also here we have a chikadi, chaire, that with the Chinese import and a Seto, well, I wouldn't say copy, but a striving for the Chinese original. So this completes our little survey of the 6 kilns. You can see that there is actually quite a variety in what in the objects, in the types of creations that they had fulfilled. And this also brings us to our part 4, the reception. As I mentioned, the term the rokkoyo was coined by Fujio Koyama in 1948. Koyama was probably the greatest ceramic expert that Japan has ever had. I mean, he created great surveys in China, for example, during the occupation of China, and also had a lifelong, tremendous record of publication. He was born in 1900 and died in 1978. Sorry for not adding that. So with him, there was no, as far as I know, no real connection to the Mingei movement, but this became such an important term that it was accepted by many different groups in Japan, including the Mingei movement. Of course, Koyama knew of other kilns than the 6. For example, the Suzu kiln, which we have a fine example upstairs. This he must have known that it's not just 6, but 6 has a nice number and also ties to Japanese traditions such as the Rokkasen, the 6 poets. It's just become sort of a classical number, and this is the term that was then used. Now, what can we say about the reception? And here I would just like to start out with this particular quote, and this is by Japan House Associates. This is an organization that promotes and promotes Japanese crafts, arts outside of Japan. And as I say, rokkoyo refers to 6 ancient kilns, uniquely developed from the oldest earthenware traditions in Japan. And then going down, the rokkoyo are differentiated from kilns established in modern times, which were influenced by the techniques of people coming from Korean Peninsula and China, or those called Toraijin. Essentially, rokkoyo is genuine Japanese pottery that was born and developed in Japan. Okay, that's a big claim. And then we see how this is used. This was accepted all over the place. Here we have a poster for an exhibition at the Moa Bildungskamp, centered on the rokkoyo. We have Itemitsu had an exhibition on the rokkoyo. We had other exhibitions in different places. Rokkoyo. You see it all over the place. Nihon no koge, so now tying rokkoyo to koge in this particular exhibition, and so on and so on. The number becomes quite bewildering. It really ties on to the Japanese conception of Japanese ceramics. There's even this logo, and you can see the logo is they say it's 1,000 years of tradition. That's not quite 1,000 years, but who cares? And then it has a character for 1,000 up here and 6 flames coming through, of course. This is actually a nice logo now. And there's even a summit on the rokkoyo, a conference. There are tours of the rokkoyo kilns. There are various explanations. There's even a rokkoyo cafe, if you want to have coffee in a rokkoyo Kisaten, why not? Why not? And even if you look at publications such as the Japan Times, they do not accept the term on one level, but they said that it origins were once believed to be the 6th oldest pottery centers in Japan. And of course, this cuts away entirely the Jomon, the Yayoi, all the other periods, and it just becomes the oldest. And this, I think, is really interesting. It's from the Bunkacho, the Agency for Cultural Affairs, and the title is, "You Will Surely Love the 6 Ancient Kilns, the birthplace of the Japanese-born, Japanese-grown ceramics." So again, this becomes something that's profoundly national, and this nationalistic narrative is again one part of this Rokoyo story. Again, it's wa no yakimono. It's the Japanese ceramics, and of course one can argue how Japanese it is. And of course, Rokoyo, if we look at recent excavations over the last couple of decades, they have now found 80 different kilns of different types, not 6, but 80, and of various sizes and various locations. The period in Japanese ceramic history was quite lively, quite varied, quite complex, and of course, one attraction of the 6 kilns is that it simplifies things into a smaller number. As a comparison, almost finished, there's a wonderful study by Professor Rastelli from the University of Venice, where she looks at the 5 famous wares of the Song Dynasty, and she finds exactly the same kind of thing going on there. Various scholars will claim that this is something that goes back to ancient histories, but she has looked through the texts of Chinese ceramicists through the centuries and found that this is a term that originated in the mid-20th century and carries with it certain political baggage as well. So what do we make of this? We can say first of all that of course we have a certain attraction of the small numbers. The 6th number is very attractive, also highly symbolic in Japanese culture. But it's also clearly a nationalistic narrative that has now been accepted by everyone. And in a way, it also fits into the Mingei narrative, where the emphasis is on the unique Japaneseness of the Mingei tradition. So I think I'm over time, so I think I better stop here. Thank you very much for your attention.